Welcome back to the Great Journey.
The
A
great
great
journey.
journey.
We are six friends dedicated to re exploring the vast universe of Halo, one installment at a time. We'll be covering the books, graphic novels, films, and of course the games. And we will be discussing, learning, and reminiscing along the way. My name is Will, and I'll be your host this episode. For the first time this season, and only the second time on our show. So this is long overdue. With me tonight will be Charlie, James, Tom, and Robbie. Jim is off sipping mojitos and at Black Reef. We wish him luck.
My ties.
My ties. Last
Yeah.
episode, we opened the pages on Silent Storm, discussing chapters 1 through 7. Here's your recap. The book opens in the early stages of the Human Covenant War. John and Blue Team are deployed in an infiltration mission to board and destroy a Covenant vessel. Along with Green and Gold teams, the Spartans sneak their way into the hangar and begin to clear the enemy ship as they make for the command bridge. Despite an errant UNSC transmission giving away their attack, John is able to fight his way to the commander, but this is too late to prevent the elite from activating a failsafe that blows the vessel apart. Later, Sergeant Avery Johnson awakens from cryosleep and is brought to a meeting with UNSC top brass. Given his experience fighting the aliens on planet Harvest, he learns that he will be put in charge of training a new task force to infiltrate and destroy more Covenant vessels. The operation will be called Silent Storm. However, Marmon Crowder, the leader of Task Force Yama, does not work well with the new Spartans, giving preference to his ODST battalion. Crowther will be calling the shots on their first mission, setting a trap for the Covenant on the planet world of Biko. But first, they must clear the surface of any and all insurrectionists. Meanwhile, a gathering of rebel groups from around the universe brings a new player into the war. Commander Harper Garvin and Rebel Captain Lyrene Castilla have spies in the UNSC and Task Force Yama, and they argue on how best to take advantage of the situation. A plan comes to fruition, where the rebels will try to barter with the aliens for independence. They will test the arrangement by providing the Covenant information about the UNSC trap for them at the planet Biko. Before we get into our next part, let's take a segment length moment to go over some questions we had from last episode. You know what that means. Well, actually,
Well, actually,
Well, actually.
This section serves as our chance to get any unresolved questions answered and or correct anything we might have said in error. Have mercy on us. We are learning as we go along and we strive to get the facts straight. James asked, how many colored Spartan teams are there? Combining info research from Sir Halo Fan on Reddit and articles on Halopedia, there appears to be 7 Spartan 2 team names mentioned in the Halo canon. They are Blue Team, Red Team, Green Team, Black Team, Gray Team, Gold Team, and finally, Yellow Team. It must be stated that teams' makeup and size is fluid throughout the installments, but if we are to believe the teams are generally made of 4 Spartans, and considering that approximately 33 active Spartan 2s exist at the start of the Human Covenant War, then that would mean there are about 5 Spartans without a team. So don't count out the possibility of a Chartreuse team.
Chartreuse.
Chartreuse.
Chartreuse
Don't
team.
count out Chartreuse.
Chartreuse. Tom asked about how old Sergeant Johnson is at the start of Silent Storm. Per Halopedia, born November 23rd, 2474, Johnson would be exactly 51 years, 3 months, and 14 days when he awakens from Cairo. I can't say that. On March 7th, 2526, aboard the UNSC cruiser Everest in Chapter 4. One last detail to discuss is the mention of an engagement on planet Jericho 7 by the rebels in Chapter 6. This appears to be the first lore interaction with the rebels and Spartans. Per Halopedia, Spartans, along with ODSTs, were dispatched to quell the insurrectionists at the planet. And apparently, this will also be covered in Halo 4 Forward Onto Dawn, the movie. So, although we personally have only seen a few missions with the Spartans, here is another addition to the early operations for the Spartans too. So, with that out of the way, let's dive in and discuss the next 7 chapters of Silent Storm, chapters 8 through 14. So, the synopsis for chapter 8: John and the team of ODSTs approach the landing zone to begin the occupation of planet Pico and kick off Operation Silent Storm. But as the Prowler's portals open and the squad comes under immediate heavy fire, John and Johnson recognize the rounds are armor piercing, and given the enemy's excellent camouflaged bunkers, the pair begin to think the rebels may have known they were coming. Command orders an evacuation, but John, recognizing that the enemy is attempting to repair their comm tower, doesn't wait for approval to take control of the situation. He grabs a rocket launcher and drops back to the planet's surface. Blue team follows him in, and they quickly turn the tide of the battle. Squad commander Nellie Ham follows up and disciplines John for disobeying orders, but is eclipsed by the arrival of Captain Clovier, who praises the deployment of the Spartans. Disagreements aside, the squad turns back to the immediate issue, preventing the rebels from repairing their comms. Without Prowler support, the chapter closes as Blue Team volunteers to attack the summit themselves. And then diving into chapter 9, more characters are introduced as we shift perspective to the elite officer Nazat. Oh man, these Covenant names. Nazat Kavorasi, master of the fleet of inexorable obedience. His fleet commences the destruction of human worlds by plasma glassing. Overseen by the Sanshayum Prophet, minor minister of artifact survey, Nazat's orders are to capture the worlds that contain Forerunner relics and destroy any that do not. The pair are visited by Tel Sai Shile.
Let's go with Zatulai. What do you think of that?
Zatulai. Well, let's see if I remember that in a few sentences. Zatulai.
Yeah.
Okay, Zatulai, a member of the Silent Shadow, a superior hunter-killer force loyal to the High Prophets. He carries a message deliberately provided from the humans, and they begin to dissect its meaning. In the transmission, the rebel leader Harper Garvin states that humans are not united and that a rebel alliance with the Covenant would be beneficial for both parties. He warns that the Spartan warriors who destroyed the Covenant ships in the past are now planning to do the same to the entire Covenant fleet. The rebels request a meeting at the ice quarry on Pico, and Nazat must make his decision. He puts his trust in Zai Shai. What was it again, Charlie?
Zatulai.
What were we going with?
Zatulai.
Zatulai.
Yeah.
Told you I wouldn't remember that in 2 sentences. Zatulai, who has greater experience observing and interacting with the humans, and appoints the Silent Shadow Warrior to lead the encounter. So what are your thoughts, folks? A lot going on in these chapters.
Like we said last episode, the action scenes in the book so far are really well written. We get another one here.
Yeah, it's the part where they're dropping down and they're just getting ambushed and they're trying to figure out like, oh shit, like where are we getting fired upon? And the way he's describing, like they're on this this crater on this icy moon. Like I was totally picturing it in my head. Like there's a part where he describes the crater like an octopus and with
Right.
like, tentacles like coming out of the canyon in all directions. Yeah, he's really good at writing and describing the scene. Really puts you in the middle of it.
Yeah, definitely. I thought it was just kind of funny, and just in general, that John leading up to this whole, which turned to be kind of, I guess, a last second mission. Um, he's just been thinking the whole time, like, what are we doing? Spartan's got to go first, and then like everything goes south immediately, and he's like, all right, well, I'm taking over, and just grabs a rocket launcher and just jumps off like, blue team, follow me.
Yeah. Not only that, he hands what's her face like an injured
Yeah, Ham.
ODST. Yeah, and uses like that split second to be like, all right, I'm gonna do my own thing real quick, just jump off, take care of this guy. I'm out. Which in the end, he ends up like basically saving the operation.
Robbie, touching on your point where, like, he's feeling like, or Chief is feeling like he should be up at the front, taking the action, leading the charge sort of thing. And considering that we think this Naito guy is a pretty shady character, right? He's the only one that was like, you know what? Yeah, you're right, John. You should be up in the front. You should be taking the fight out the gate. And then they land, and there's armor piercing rounds shooting into the vessel. I'm like, wonder why he wanted you up front, Mr. John. Like, I think it's another kind of hint towards him possibly being a mole.
Yeah, I think last episode we discussed like, yeah, I think this guy's for sure like probably a traitor or giving info to the innies. And that's something that John and Johnson, they feel like something's not right.
Yeah, they were
They feel like,
they were quick to notice something, and they felt that something was off here. They were too prepared.
yeah, like they were waiting for somebody,
At this point, we just think that they were prepared for attacking Spartans, right? And then maybe later we learn that that might not have been the case, but we'll get there.
on chapter 9 basically starts off they're in the middle of glassing what it seems like they describe as a planet just full of like nomadic humans. That's what it seems like, right? Like people that don't really, it's not like an advanced planet from my understanding. They only had like one shipping port to get off the entire planet, and they're just going around glassing village to village. And it seems like this one, Sen Shayum, the Minister of Artifact Survey, it seems like he relishes in killing the humans and inflicting suffering.
Yeah, he says that it's part of his job. Like, he has to oversee the destruction, report back to the high prophets. But that's a good point, Will, where he's probably like secretly, he's into that.
Yeah, didn't he mention that like they didn't like specific ask, but he's like, oh, I got to tell them exactly how they're suffering, and then maybe they'll promote me or whatever. Like some weird
He's
kind
a
of
sicko. Yeah, he's a
weird
weirdo.
shit.
Yeah. He's also super like obnoxious to the elites, the shipmaster, and he was also getting on the nerves of
That too lie.
man, Zatulai. Jesus, I'm gonna struggle with that this entire night. Zatulai. Which by the way, I think the Silent Shadows was an awesome name.
Yeah, he's a badass mother trucker, and it's cool. They put a little bit of background on them in this chapter where they have to cover their face so they can't actually see, their face, because they might be ordered to kill their own leader or captain or anything like that. So they're basically, it sounds like they're doing the bidding of the high prophets. They report to the prophets, but yeah, he just sounds like a badass warrior sort of guy. Smart too. You know, we learned that he can understand English, that he was sent on like reconnaissance missions ahead of these invasions or glassing of the planets. They would send the silent shadows down to the surface of human worlds, and they would essentially in camouflage like observe humanity. And apparently he did that so long that he actually can understand human words. Thought that was kind of cool.
You wonder what his disguise was, or like how he hid, and then how he was able to actually monitor what humans were doing. Like it just adds so many questions that I've got. Like I just want to read a book about around like silent shadows infiltrating
Long overcoat.
humanity. Yes, and a
Trench
wig,
coat.
mustache.
Do you really need a
What's up,
disguise
fellow
if you're
human?
a silent shadow?
In all seriousness, I was picturing like active camouflage essentially.
Yeah.
So
The just like we were talking last week, when the Covenant heard the message from Garvin, we were discussing like, yeah, dude, the Covenant are not gonna. I mean, they want to kill all humans. Doesn't really matter. And that was confirmed in this chapter where the Covenant are like, okay, we'll see what these guys are about, but we're only gonna, work with them until they're not useful anymore. And then the moment they're not useful anymore, we're just gonna kill them all. So it just shows how stupid the insurrectionists' plan was from the get-go.
right.
So anything else anybody wants to say about chapter 8 or chapter 9?
I guess I just wanted to say that I was not expecting, just like Contact Harvest, I wasn't expecting any like alien chapters in this one. So when this one popped up, I'm like, yes.
Yeah, no, dude, they're like some of the best chapters.
Yeah. And it's in the perspective of an elite, so we haven't had that.
Yeah. So one thing that I want to say that I think is super cool, I love this, is that just like us, like humans, we have all these things to kind of, all these gestures, like shrugging our shoulders, saying like we don't know. Well, the
Right.
elites have a bunch of gestures as well, like putting both palms down was like saying like, yeah, I don't know. And then the different head motions, like us nodding our head up and down is like yes, or shaking our head, left to right means no. Well, with the elites, the way they clack their mandibles or move certain mandibles a certain way, or just the way they tilt their head also mean different things, and I thought that was super cool.
You think it gives them more of like an alien or like a beast sort of characteristic? Or
No, I felt like it made them more human.
Yeah.
okay.
Like
Yep.
I related to that a lot more.
Yeah, I think it's a cool ad, definitely. It kind of builds. It's just another layer of like a little bit of world building, I
Yep.
think.
Non-verbal communicating. Yep.
Good catch, Rob.
Alrighty. Diving into chapter 10. Back amid the battle for Vico, Blue Team prepares to attack and destroy the Rebel comm tower. They will utilize the defunct mass driver that runs up the side of the mountain as a protected tunnel to the top. However, the Spartans are stalled as the barrel appears nearly blocked by ice. With the ODSTs beginning their diversion attack, John quickly adapts the plan. The Spartans will slide up the huge ice sludge using the Mjolnir suit thrusters. The Spartans propel their way along the mass driver, but their movement begins to give them away. They take fire as the rebels try to block their path. Finally, nearing the summit, explosions and firing engulfs the summit, and John is starting to think something is wrong. They emerge to find that Commander Ham has deceived the Spartans. ODSTs are already attacking the comm tower with Prowler support. John confronts Ham, and she admits that she needed the armor Spartans to play the decoy so her black daggers could fight their way up. Although the mission is accomplished, Spartans still appear inferior to Ham and Crowther. Chapter 11. John attends a debriefing over the recent battle at the ice quarry. Crowther is livid that the ODSTs took heavy casualties and the Spartans' actions, although done with integrity, are argued to have compromised the mission further. The leaders of Task Force Yama begin to suspect the rebels must have known they were coming, but admitting so would mean that there is a leak in the upper brass. The Spartan standing is impeded further when Naito lets it slip that they were merely 15 years old. Yet John, pushing past their sudden demotion, bluntly gets to the point. The rebels were expecting company, but perhaps it wasn't the UNSC they imagined arriving. Theories abound, and the group comes to the realization that their human enemy might be attempting to join their alien enemy. Biko is still an important operating base, and if the UNSC can mount a surprise defense, the Covenant would lose any reason to trust the rebels. The briefing is cut short when an alarm sounds that a Covenant flotilla is inbound, and the crew gets prepared for an attack. Crowther, now unwilling to put child soldiers into combat, charges the Spartans with guarding and extraditing the rebel prisoners. So a lot also going on in these chapters. Any thoughts on chapter 10?
So this is, again, it's continuing that battle, and now we're seeing blue team, do their thing.
Yeah, so basically, the rebels, the innies are going up to fix their comm tower, and basically they devised a plan real quick to be like, yo, we need to stop these guys. So the plan was that the Black Daggers were going to create a diversion. Meanwhile, the Spartans go up the mass driver, but it turns out that the Spartans were the actual diversion, so they were, lied to by Ham.
Damn it. I'd say that John kind of appears naive in these, early missions. For example, like he remains silent when he should have spoken up against Crowther, and how he wanted to proceed with Silent Storm. He gets thrown off in that conversation, that surprise conversation with Naito. Now, he's deceived by this Commander Ham. So like there's these things that are kind of, working against him that I think a smarter, more mature chief might not have allowed or had seen coming. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, but no, 100%.
Yeah.
I mean, he's only 15, and really the only person who kind of has his back is Johnson.
Yeah.
Seems
He-
like everybody else basically has their own goals, trying to make themselves look good.
Right. He's allowing himself to, kind of be taken advantage of or sidelined, in a way here, which, it's probably, you got to consider, like, again, they're just children here. They're learning on the fly sort of thing. So
In chapter 11, the whole debriefing of the mission, they're trying to figure out like what went wrong and everything. And then at the end of the briefing, I mean, it comes out that the real age of the Spartans, and it basically makes John look really bad. Like Halsey looks at him like, "You told him how old you were," and he was like, "No." So yeah, and here's the thing, like Naito, like he keeps on trying to like seem like he's in John's corner, like trying to defend him, being like, why are you guys being so hard on him? Because of him, like the operation was saved, but it's really like it's all fake, in my opinion. He's actually trying to sabotage John and the Spartans.
yeah, there were some points that I got written down here. I wanted to bring up about Naito, especially in this chapter, because I think it was, or I'll get to it because it's in here too. Like, for example, Naito tries to deflect when they said, how did the rebels know we were coming? And he's like, it doesn't mean that they were expecting us, just that they were ready when we showed up, sort of thing. Like, no, maybe they weren't tipped off. He clunkily brings up John's age. You know, he was pretending like he was defending him, but he really wasn't, sort of thing.
Yep.
Again, like that backdoor sort of sabot, like he's working against John. Johnson seems to notice, you know, or suspect something. He even says like he's not sure he believes Naito anymore. He was like staring at him across the room the whole time.
Yeah, without blinking, he's just staring at him.
Right, so you got to believe that Johnson is onto him somehow. So apparently Naito's Vulcans like missed all of their targets, and Ascot was like what happened there? And he couldn't really answer. So another kind of suspicious thing. And then maybe the most blatant of them all was like they were mentioning that they got all these rebel prisoners that they captured, and they're saying they're all from all over the galaxy, including this planet Gao. And then Ascot points out that like Naito is from Gao, so like he's literally from a well-known rebel planet. So there's just the red flags kind of keep fucking stacking up on this
Yeah.
dude. Maybe it's too blatant. Like, I don't know.
I think maybe it's possible they're gonna do like a plot twist, and it's like surprise, it's somebody else. It's possible. So something that kind of didn't work for me is that I feel like during this meeting, it's like a big leap that they go from like, yeah, all the innies are meeting up here to them just being like, oh, obviously they were gonna meet up with the Covenant. I feel like that was a big leap for them to make, in my opinion. Like it didn't work for me. Like them just being, oh look, there's Covenant on their way over here. Okay, obviously they were trying to meet up with the innies and set something up. I feel like that was a leap. I mean, I know John brings it up, but if I was somebody in the room with John, I'd have been like, yeah, it doesn't add up. It's all like circumstantial stuff that you're saying.
What was the reasoning between John or behind John's thinking? It was like those bunkers they had. It didn't like it would have taken hours to build up, but they're all ready to go, and they probably only would have known about them approaching the quarry in like half hour. Is that right?
Yeah. So 100%. So it's like, yeah. So obviously the insurrectionists knew they were prepared, right? But all that tells you is like there's some kind of spy, you know, inside whatever the command structure of this mission, right? So to go from that, like they were expecting us to be like, well, they're trying to team up with the Covenant is like a big leap, you know? That's what I felt like. And it's like all your evidence was like, okay, they were prepared to meet up with people, and then you see Covenant in the system, and then their leap is like, okay, obviously they were going to meet up, when I feel like it's a big leap for me, and I feel like the book doesn't set the groundwork good enough to make it believable.
Yeah, it was quick.
That they would know that, you know, that they would know that.
Yeah.
Anybody want to add anything else? Looks like they're sidelined. They're going to be escorting the prisoners of war off planet. So let's get into chapter 12. Oh man, how are we going with this guy's name again, Charlie?
Zatulai.
Zatulai. Jesus.
The S is silent
Zatulai.
since he's a part of the silent. What is it? Silent Shadow.
love
So
that.
that's the silent.
Yeah, that's the silent.
Chapter 12. On board the Covenant corvette Sacred Whisper, Zatulai notices suspicious activity on planet Biko ahead. Watching as human vessels appear to flee the planet, but his onboard tracking not picking up these movements, he defers to his crew. The heat signatures and magnet fluctuations do not support the movement of vessels. In fact, the planet itself appears abandoned. But Zatulai focuses on the quarry, where the signatures vary slightly. Realizing that they may be hiding something inside the mines, he comes to the conclusion that humans possess stealth technologies that even surpass their own. Considering the entire situation to be a trap, he abandons the rendezvous and instead orders an attack on the planet. He now endeavors to capture one of these stealth ships to study. His small flotilla now working to protect the incoming Covenant fleet from annihilation. And going on to chapter 13, in the ice quarry, John and the Spartans direct the rebel prisoners on board a transport vessel. With the Covenant inbound, they are pushed for time. John notices a person of interest amid the captives, which intel reveals is Major General Harper Garvin. He pulls Garvin aside and smartly exfoliating from his dossier, getting the general to admit that the rebels were trying to ally with the aliens. The cavern is then rocked with explosions as the Covenant vessels open fire upon the quarry. Over the comms, the Spartans learned that Task Force Yama flagship, the Starry Night, was hit and has gone silent. John is now faced with a choice: follow orders and get the prisoners off planet, or make for the downed flagship and prevent the Covenant from finding the details of Silent Storm or Earth's coordinates. It's safe to say that we all know which decision is made. And then going to the final chapter, chapter 14. Blue, green, and gold teams make their way to the downed Starry Night. The quarry floor is blanketed with a thick fog, and John must concede to Crowther to get a bearing on the vessel. Crowther understands the importance of preventing the Covenant from getting their hands on its sensitive data, now backs the Spartan. They are to capture the ship, rescue any survivors, and detonate the onboard nuke. They receive a location and race for the ship, but quickly notice Covenant landing craft also en route. Distracted by brutes attacking on Ghosts, John recognizes they will not make it in time and change the plan. Ordering the Spartans to use their grenade launchers, they explode the area under the Prowler and simultaneously cause an avalanche of ice and snow to consume them all.
Dun, dun, dun.
So, chapter 12, super quick. They're on the Covenant ship, and it looks like in some aspects, human stealth technology for the ships surpasses some of the Covenant technology because they're not able to pick it up on their sensors. I thought that was interesting because it always seemed like the Covenant were basically superior in basically every way when it came to tech.
Yeah, it's surprising where they can sneak around underneath, entire. Well, it's not the entire fleet yet, but that UNSC or ONI. I think these are ONI stealth vessels, right? So they have the technology to hide from the Covenant right now. That's pretty cool.
And yeah, he makes the decision to. He was like, "All right, like the gathering out the window. Let's just capture one of these ships. We need to study one of them."
Yeah, again, if we're talking about these like quick realizations, we just talked about John realizing that the rebels were gonna meet with the Covenant. Like in a matter of 2 chapters or 3 chapters, the Covenant's also like, screw this meeting. We're not gonna do that. And 180.
Yeah, a bunch of like leaping to conclusions.
Yeah.
They're like, "Oh yeah, humans are leaving this planet on their ships. Obviously, the deal's over with." Like that doesn't make sense. I feel like they're, I already forgot his name, Zashael or whatever. He's already jumping to conclusions. I'm not sure I'm buying it.
Yeah. I agree.
Like the whole plan was to do this meeting because of these Spartans are, they're going to get info on these Spartans. They're going to set up a forward operating base on this moon with the help of the humans, and what that gets thrown out the window just because you see like ships leaving the planet. It just doesn't add up for me. I don't know if anybody else feels the same.
Yeah, that does seem like kind of a quick conclusion. It's like, oh, we see a bunch of ships just leaving. That must mean that deal's off and it's a trap. But yeah, that just seems like huge conclusion to jump to. But
I'm a little salty because I kind of wanted to see how this was gonna progress, But like I said, in a matter of 3 chapters, it just it's back to business as usual. We're gonna kill humans. Like,
Yeah, I was actually looking forward to like the interaction that they're gonna have and how, they're gonna feel each other out and be like, all right, what can you do for me? What can I do for you? That kind of stuff. But it doesn't pan out that way.
good pro quo.
Or even just a flat out ambush on the Covenant. That would have been interesting to read.
I do love this character. I think he's awesome. He's constantly like being like, should I have done this? Well, I'll meditate about it later, you know? Or maybe I shouldn't have done this. And he's like, I need to control this about myself. And, he's a really deep guy and he strives for discipline and perfection within himself. Uh, I think he's super cool.
Yeah, I'd agree. I think it's interesting that, how we said a few chapters ago, these silent shadows, they can't show their face and everything. They're supposed to be, have their mask on. But in order for him to like want his crew to trust him, he's removed his mask, Again, kind of shows just a more developed and more interesting character than
Yeah,
just somebody who blindly follows orders like like a
right.
Tartarus, So, yeah, I'm
Yeah, he
interested
really
in
didn't want his crew to fear him. Yeah.
right. Yeah,
Because there's all this myth around the silent shadows, and he just want to be like, yo, I'm just normal elite, you don't have to be fucking terrified of me, which they all are. Like the guy that was in charge of our I can't remember what it was, like this guy that's in charge of like scanning the planet. I mean, he was basically crapping himself when they're just like, what's going on? Why can't you pick up these ships?
yeah.
So yeah, chapter 13. They're getting the prisoners on board. Thought interesting. They find Garvin, and Garvin starts asking John a bunch of questions, and John's not really giving him any information. Something I thought about this is the crew when they're about to leave. The crew's like, "What? You're just gonna leave these people with us?" And John's just like, just follow procedure. If they try to escape, you just what is it like, suck out the air. I feel like these prisoners are gonna just take over the ship since the Spartans weren't on, and that's gonna be a whole big deal. And I feel like they're all gonna escape, but that's just my hunch.
Yeah, considering that like a few times now John's disobeyed direct orders from Crowther, right? And here's another one where he's supposed to be watching these prisoners and he goes to do the sensible thing, which is, wipe the date off Starry Night. But yeah, this has opened the door for these prisoners to escape, including, of course, their commander, this Harper Garvin.
Yeah, and I feel like they're setting that up
Yeah, I'd agree
because
with
they
you.
bring it up like two times, maybe three times, where it's just like you're leaving all these prisoners with us with no escort, and John's just like, you'll be fine.
Yeah, what'd he say? He's like, have a safe flight or something. What'd he say?
Something like that.
He's like, good luck.
And chapter 14, they're heading into again with the awesome descriptive writing, the fog, they can't see anything. And then there's like moments where like a ship will come through, push the fog away. And there's other moments where like the fog will only be like head up to the chest and they'll be able to see stuff and then they can't. And again, with John naming basically everything in the fucking Halo universe,
Yeah, I knew you're gonna go
he
for
is
this.
like in the fog, there's like he's talking about the rider, the vehicle. He's like it almost came out of the fog like a ghost. I was like, oh my god, is that why they're called ghosts? Because John called it a fucking ghost.
Yeah, I
Because
thought
everything named from John's mind, like,
I agree with you. It's funny that it's John basically like naming everything now.
Yeah, that is a little weird because you would think Oni or Halsey or literally any scientist would try to claim ownership of identifying and naming something. Kind of like how it is nowadays. Like, oh, that's a levitating propulsion craft. Nope, we're gonna call it Ghost.
The Starry Night crashes basically on the side of a canyon in a small like plateau area of the on the side of the canyon. Basically front first. Do you guys think that anybody survived the crash? Do you think everybody's basically dead?
They said something in this chapter that like the onboard sensors would automatically detonate the onboard nuke if it sensed that there was no living people remaining. Right? It said something like that.
Within 2 hours, I think it says, right?
Oh,
If it doesn't detect anybody eh, for a time of 2 hours, then it will detonate.
yeah, it's like a fail-safe sort of thing.
Yeah.
So, well, let's just say it wasn't 2 hours. Well, then we would assume that there must be somebody still alive there. We'll see. I mean, that was talking about what the leader, the commander of Task Force Yama, right, is on that ship. So it'd be a big loss.
I think also in this chapter, Naito, he's also being weird with the cover fire that hit that like his ships are supposed to be like providing um, the Spartans as they make their way there. I don't know. I got the impression that he was a little bit late on that providing that cover.
Yes, stalling. Another suspicious red flag.
Anybody else got anything to say about any of the chapters we went over tonight? Any overall thoughts?
I'll just throw out that it's kind of the book's kind of written in a gritty sort of way, like when that it was a brute that was on the ghost coming out of the fog, and basically Chief loads a grenade launcher into his launcher and just it blows the dude apart. And they're pretty, he writes it pretty graphically, so it's kind of a dark sort of take on the battles and stuff. Again, just these action scenes I think are really really cool. I'm liking that so
Yeah,
far.
I liked that part too, Charlie. Basically, half his freaking body, gets blown off, and the ghost is still fucking moving, with just his legs.
I was half expecting like Chief to hop on like he would in the game. And he figures that out like immediately.
Yeah.
Running riot.
And then a bit earlier, in that ambush that the daggers go into, and they're talking about how like basically like, chunks of them, I mean, they're getting messed up by Vulcan guns or whatever, basically tearing them apart. But yeah, I liked these chapters. A lot of action, a lot of cool stuff with the Covenant. And with that, we close on part 2 of Silent Storm. Let's switch over to our season 2 PvP tournament. When the Covenant shows up, orbital evacuation isn't always an option. That's where this week's sponsor comes in. Haas and Sons Bunkers and Shelters, founded in 1775, Haas and Sons has centuries of premier bunker building expertise. Engineered with repurposed Oni tech and buried deep beneath the crust, their glassing resistant shelters offer maximum survivability even under sustained plasma bombardment. Whether you're a colonial governor, black market broker, or just someone who doesn't want to end up a shadow on the sidewalk, they got your escape plan covered. Standard features in all models come with titanium A battle plating, thermal dampening shielding to avoid Covenant scans, 10-year sustainable food and oxygen systems, atmospheric simulation models providing environmental presets, Earth Reach and Arcadia for mental stability during prolonged isolation, and emergency slip space beacon fires at one-use encrypted distress signals that can be picked up by UNSC patrols if they are still out there. This month, Haas & Sons has a mega deal for our listeners who finance their bunkers. When you finance with Haas, you will receive a 3-month, 0% interest introductory APR. Yeah, I know it's crazy, I don't understand how they're able to offer such an incredible deal. It's practically black magic. Just click on the link in the podcast description to take advantage of this once in a lifetime promo. Use the code MasterCheeks2025 to take advantage of this deal. When you're worried about your ass becoming glass, call Haas. Thank
Love
you
it.
so much, Haas. They're a great sponsor. You know, very important to have your glass proof bunker shelter. You never know when you're gonna need it. Probably really soon, the way this war has been going. So thank you, Haas.
I'm a glass half full guy, so I'll call Haas.
Yes. Yes, call Haas and Sons. Like I said. So on to the PvP tournament. Here's the recap of Season 2, Match 7. We thought we were on track for a full PvP match, but it wasn't to be. With Tom's box on the fritz, we fought for 5 points. James had the pick, and he set up Punching Game, a Slayer match played on Anchor 9 in Halo Reach. With instant respawns, movement speed increased, and only plasma pistols, James whacked his way to the win. Yeah, that was quite the game mode.
Good whacking, James.
Here are the updated results of our 6th match in the tournament. James has 26 points. Robbie in 2nd place with 17 points. Crazy. I know, I can't believe it either. I got 16. I'm tied with Charlie. Jim, he has 9. And Tom is at last place with 8.
Womp womp.
Although I am filling in for the original selected host, Jim, the wheel's also merciful, and I will also be selecting tonight's match. So, I think we're going to be playing Halo Reach today, free for all, on, I think it's Shield Base. Sword Base.
Is that the one with all the levels?
Yes, Sword Base.
Yep, it's Sword Base.
Don't be a stranger. Stop back anytime. As always, you can find us on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube at The Great Journey POD. We're on most major podcast platforms and will greatly appreciate your likes, your comments, and your follows on these platforms to help boost our visibility. Serious Talk is Nieto the Mole. Let us know your thoughts. Feel free to give us your input on the media, the topics we discuss, and even your ideas on how to improve or what we should cover next. We welcome you to join the journey. If you feel like supporting our show, you can find us on Patreon at patreon.com/thegreatjourneypod. Your contribution is greatly appreciated. With it, we can offset the cost of hosting, platforms, editing software, music subscriptions, and of course, the actual media, of which are the things that allow this project to keep progressing. We aspire to be an interesting, thoughtful, and fun contribution to the Halo community. As a TGJ Patreon member, you will receive a shout out live on one of our episodes. And should you choose, we will answer a question of yours on air as well. You can ask us something like, we've really gotten to know the Master Chief since we started this great journey. What is a song or tune that you think you'd find on the Master Chief's Spotify playlist and why? You want to go first, James?
No, I do not.
Obviously, he wants us. These starships were meant to fly. Ooh, you do not want that on a recording. Well, I mean, for me, when I hear some Audio Slave, it kind of reminds me of Halo games because I ripped probably all 3 of Audio Slave's album on my Xbox and just would that be playing on the Xbox during campaign. So my mind went there. So kind of right after that, I was thinking like Chief would probably want something like hard, kind of to motivate him. So kind of want to like Rage Against the Machine, but I don't think the UNSC would be. They would like the the meaning behind some of these Rage songs. Even though John would be taking the power back against the Covenant, I guess. But I kind of thought,
Yeah,
was thinking more.
they're the machine of the galaxy for sure.
They're definitely the
Listen.
machine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, I will counter that. The way I went is John is so numb to violence and so mellow that like I can hear him, and maybe it's a little cliche because if listen like Guardians Against the Galaxy and shit, but like Escape, aka the Pina Colada song by Robert Holmes. I think that's what I pictured John listening to.
Just to mellow him out.
Yeah, just little bit like he doesn't really know what love is. I mean, unless you watch the Halo TV series. But like just a little, pina coladas, like picture himself on the beach while he's blasting grunts. That's what I think.
I think he listens to Fox Fan White Noise for 24 hours a day.
Which like Tom really does
All
think
day.
that he is nothing but a meathead with two brains.
Just listens to grunt noises on repeat.
Considering that the Covenant calls Master Chief demon, and you can extrapolate the demon to being the devil, right? That means for me, I gotta believe that sympathy for the devil is on Master Chief's playlist. Pleased to meet you. I hope you guessed my name. Because we actually
That's a
don't
good
we
one.
actually don't know his name, his full name, right? So
That is true.
yeah.
I was kind of thinking more of along the lines of like some heavy metal, and I don't even know if this is necessarily considered metal, but this one song name did kind of the same lines as your Charlie, and like John being the demon, Avenged Sevenfold, Beast, and the Harlot. Harlot being Cortana, obviously.
Ah, nice. I don't know that one though. I can't say I do.
It's been a minute since I last heard it, so I don't even know what that's actually about.
Well, does that leave you?
Yeah. I kind of went. I was thinking like a different direction. In the debriefing when everybody was talking, he was just like, I'm tired of just everybody yapping. So I was thinking like for his music when he's like working out, I was thinking something like electronic with like fast, heavy beats. So I was thinking this tune, because there's no vocals in it, by Cephalstein called Pursuit. And I feel like, he would listen to something like that while he's, just working out,
You can see that.
just heavy beats, no lyrics, just going hard.
Just mentally in pursuit of the Covenant.
Exactly. Yes. He's, singularly focused.
I don't even know how to spell that. Jeff Scheffelshine?
Cephalstein.
Zeffelstein?
The S is silent.
So yeah. So our journey continues. Stay tuned as next episode we continue our dissection of Silent Storm, covering the next chapters 14 through 17. As always, thank you for joining us this evening, and we hope to see you back here for the next installment of The Great Journey.
The great
Journey.
Hey, it's James, one of your hosts here on The Great Journey. We hope you enjoyed the show. If you want to connect with us, you can find us on most podcast platforms, as well as Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube at The Great Journey Pod. If you'd like to support the show, you can do so at patreon.com/The Great Journey Pod. Thank you for your listenership, and we'll hope to see you for the next chapter of The Great Journey.
And Tom, I think there is a book called Silent Shadow.
Ah, okay.
Yeah.
Are we gonna read that?
Let's see.
Actually,
Oh my god, our list is so long. Holy shit! I don't see it on there though.
Maybe not.
needs to be added to the docket.
I'll have to cut that out. Maybe I was thinking of Smoke and Shadow. Never mind. I am stupid.
We're gonna be doing this podcast. We're gonna be like 80 years old.